Video on. That's the she was at the recording on. Did everybody? Stop talking.
Good. All right. Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's now 7:04 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by advertising the annual meeting notice in the official newspapers, providing a copy of the agenda to the newspapers, posting a copy of the agenda at Borough Hall. Would you please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sam, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bernhardt. Here. Councilmember Doherty. Council President Etek.
Here.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Here.
Councilmember Updike. Councilmember Warner.
Okay, with that, we'll move to our first public comment portion of the meeting. The first public comment is limited to 3 minutes. If anyone would like to address the governing body, please just state your name for the record.
I don't have a copy of the agenda. Am I on the agenda?
You have your own section after this.
Okay.
Yep. Hearing no public comment, we'll move on to an update from Jean Herb from the age-friendly Frenchtown Committee.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'll be super quick. So as you will recall, the council set up an age-friendly committee under the auspices of a grant, a grant from the Department of Human Services. That grant ends in July of 2026. There's no opportunity to extend the grant because it's American Recovery Fund monies, which expires and goes back. So we've created a committee, great committee. Committee meets pretty much monthly. And really for the first half of the grant period, we've been doing a lot of listening. On Friday, we're closing a community survey, and I think we're gonna have a good 200 responses on the survey, which is pretty good, right? A majority of those responses seem to be people over 60, which is great. We've done about 15 sort of interviews with community leaders, Al from the pharmacy, the bank manager and the IGA manager. And then we had a really great mayor town hall. We had 35 people there, right? It was super. And people from all parts of the borough giving us feedback. So it's really been our listening period. So the reason I'm here tonight is I want to give you a heads up that I'll be coming back to you probably at your February meeting to lay out some options for you to kind of weigh in on, because we're really your committee. So we've been listening about challenges and about strategies to make Frenchtown more age friendly. So I'll come back to you and I'll lay out what the committee's heard. And really we'll need you to sort of give us a thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of our direction, because then we'll spend the next couple of months investigating those strategies, and eventually come June, you'll need to endorse or adopt an action plan. So the idea of me coming back to you and say your February meeting is to say, this is what we think are or we've heard are the priority challenges to age friendly. These are what we think are the potential priorities for actions. And then here are the things that we think could be what I call early actions, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then I'll look to you for a nod, like, yeah, you're headed in the right direction, and then the committee will move down that path. Or you'll say you're not heading in the right direction, and we need to kind of reconnoiter. So those 3 things is what you'll be hearing from me on. Here's what we've heard about the biggest challenges. Here's what the committee thinks are the greatest potential opportunities to address those challenges. And here are what we think could be some early actions that we could begin to take on even before we adopt an action plan. So those early actions might be things where we, meaning Borough, applies for additional funds to implement some of those ideas, or where we, the Borough, agrees to reconfigure some of the funds in the current grant to actually begin to implement some of the strategies that seem to be the most low-hanging fruit. So those are the 3 kind of things I'll come back to you on. Here's the challenges we've heard. Here's what the committee thinks are the greatest opportunities for moving forward. And here are the things we think we could be doing now to move forward, and asking for your support to move forward, whether that's applying for funds or reconfiguring the existing grant funds. So I'm really here tonight just to give you the heads up that you're gonna be hearing from me a little bit more lengthy. I think probably at your February meeting, we'll actually walk you substantively through some of the content of what we've been hearing. It's been fascinating and some really interesting things have come up, and I think there's some really good potential to look for additional funds to support some of the early actions. So that was it. I just want to give you the heads up that you're gonna be hearing a lot, and my guess is at your February meeting, there'll be many of the committee members joining me.
But one question, when you're saying June adoption. So, but would we intro in May then? Or would it be, would it be?
So.
Cause
Do we
it
have-
has to be adopted by June is what the deadline?
So the action plan isn't necessarily everything that the council's gonna do. It could be, hey, the business association is gonna work with the hardware store and the senior center to create a Mr. Fix-It program, right? That's gonna, the
Yeah.
council has no responsibility there. But there's other things where the council does have responsibility. Creating a dedicated senior parking space for the library, right? So there's some things that are very council related, there are other things that are not. That's why I kind of felt like I needed to really give you a substantive heads up come February. Cause you might be like, that is dead on arrival, we don't even wanna think about that. And then we won't go down that path. So yeah, I think in May, and I don't know if you need to endorse the plan, Samantha, we'll have to ask the state, right? Do you have to endorse the plan, adopt the plan?
Well, that's my question.
Yeah.
We have to do an ordinance that
I don't
actually
know.
permits the
I'll
There's a
plan.
resolution.
There's a- yeah, and
Maybe
that's just a
resolution,
one.
like, we like that. idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that
Because
would
again,
just be
some of the-
June for.
Some of the actions won't even be things that are within the
Resolution.
council's,
One,
you
yeah.
know, they're just good ideas.
Yeah,
Okay, so we need to flesh out whether,
Yeah,
if
so-
that action is necessary, whether it's an ordinance or a
Yeah.
resolution.
And for the February meeting, can you forward an outline in advance of what?
Yes.
So that way we can,
Yes, and we've already even started developing a PowerPoint presentation.
Wow.
But yes, we can definitely forward things.
will this be the best space for that? If not, the reason I ask is because when we do our annual meeting notice, rather than advertising as a special, we could put something in there. If this is gonna be inadequate, then maybe we should think
For the
about the
school.
school.
Do you want PowerPoint like shown to people in the audience? Cause I don't have the ability to do that.
I think it would be to the council's benefit to do that, to be honest,
The
because
school.
we're gonna be laying out things, you know, that. Where you would be, so let me give you some examples, that's the best way I can think, right? So one of the things that we've done, cause this issue has come from the planning board, which I'm a member of. Which is that if you were, we have an older housing stock, if you were looking to add a handicap ramp. Or a first floor bathroom, and you have a doctor's, prescription essentially saying you need this. You still go through the same approval process here in the borough in terms of approvals, costs, those kinds of things. So a question, I think, for the council would be, and we've already had our planner, and the grant had funds for the planner to kind of flesh these ideas out and what other towns have done things in this space. But so a question for the council might be, do you want us to reconfigure a February question? Do you want us to reconfigure some of the funds in the grant to have our planner, Darlene Green, actually write an ordinance for you to consider in the future, right? There's other things that we'll come to you with and we'll say, it is clear to us that what we are hearing from older residents is that there are lots of services, but they're way far away in Flemington.
Yeah.
And what the borough really needs is a dedicated part-time person who can really help bring those services in. Council, we would suggest, and we would put the muscle in to write a grant to the Fargo Foundation to fund a position like that. Would you support that? So those are the kinds of things I see us coming to in February. And so I don't quite know what I think the action plan could be very squishy, like, we're gonna look to create a position to support age-friendly initiatives or something like that. But I think some of the things we'll come back to in February might be very specific and decisive in terms of, should we reconfigure funds in the grant? Should we, on behalf of the borough, apply for additional funds?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
yes,
So,
So we're getting close, so the reason I wanted to come tonight was to say, get ready, because we're getting close.
okay,
Okay.
I will, Gene, thank you for your work in that.
Yeah.
No, it's been really rewarding and it's all been very positive. You all do a tremendous amount of work in this borough and I know it's kind of thankless. So you should work on age friendly because it's incredibly thankless.
We did work on projects.
Well, I want to throw something out there to you. We've been kicking around, this idea of putting in parking meters in the borough.
Well, in fact, just today, I was transcribing everything that we've heard into one page, and one of the things is the borough council should be thinking about the needs of older residents in terms of parking downtown as the borough council is thinking about things like meters. So, all right, so.
So what I was gonna
Yeah.
throw out there, just if the
Yeah.
committee is willing to take a look at it, is if we were to do that, much like the lottery supports things for seniors.
Right,
You know, if we took part of that money and we could dedicate it towards senior programming in Frenchtown, and also we've had conversations with Jim Hintonack as principal of the school,
yeah,
and I was pitching to them, and this might be a great group for the committee to talk to, but now that there's the River Crossing YMCA, which is the large conglomerate that's been
Right.
formed, they have some amazing programming that they can do for communities, including like per diem stuff,
right,
yoga for seniors.
yeah.
A lot of times, if you provide the space, they can provide the staff.
Yes, and so, okay, so spoiler alert, so if I was giving you the February presentation now, here's what I would say, we have three things that are the biggest challenge. One is a sense of social isolation and lack of unwelcomeness in the borough for older residents. And sort of invisibility is the word that some of the residents. And then there's a number of things that fall under that, like they don't know, they can't park in town, so they don't feel like they're involved. No one seems to know who they are. We don't have a contact list for them. There's no newsletter, there's things like that. So there's a list. Number two is there's lots of services like the Y, like the senior center.
Yeah.
I go to the senior center, I'm a senior, right?
Senior center is
There's
awesome.
so many services, but they're not present here locally, right? And then three are things that I've currently put in a bucket of like policy, like this issue about renovation of homes, like needing to have stronger enforcement of maintenance of sidewalks and shoveling and things like that. And so I think on your point, Mayor, is if I was the queen of the world, I'm gonna tell you right this minute what I thought you should do. I think having a dedicated person, and it's not me, to be able to bring those services here. Someone's gotta be doing the roll up the sleeves work, because there's so many services, they're just not coming in. And that's a lot of work. And well, we've heard from the churches, we've heard from the school, everyone is like, use our space, we want you to use our space. So it's all good. It's all positive. I do think it's just a matter of probably finding some resources to have someone really kind of do the legwork to bring it together.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking if we have a non-traditional revenue to Frenchtown, because,
Yeah,
you know, that could create a funding source to do a lot of things that we maybe didn't do otherwise. Plus, it would help us with the issue of turning over parking spots in town. I was told that if we do it, there's a business that has a large lot now that would make their spots available as well and tap into
Right.
that system.
I think that's an option. I think,
But
I
like-
think initially, going to someone like the Fargo Foundation, the borough, going and saying, help us cover a position for a year or 2 years. And while we're doing that, we'll find a stable way to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the park, so I think there's a lot of ideas.
And I know the school has said that, the month of July is a problematic time for childcare and
Yeah.
programming. And I know the principal is interested in, we found out the Cross Rivers YMCA could run like a camp for
Right,
kids for a full
Right.
week. It's about $10,000.
yeah,
But there are resources out there we could bring to town, it's just
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah, I was so energized at the mayor's town hall, because you know, there were 35 people there, and you know, I was fairly assumed that people would come and complain about things. And they didn't, they came and they were positive.
Yeah.
And they had great ideas, and they wanted to get involved, and so many people said to me, I haven't seen all these people in years. And so my personal theory is part of it is COVID, and also is the loss of the Delaware Valley News. So the concept, a couple of us are exploring the concept, and there is a funding source of reinvigorating, some kind of civic journalism. So there's lots of ideas,
Mhm.
so, but I wasn't prepared to go through all of them with you now. I'm here to kind of give you the heads up that there's lots of ideas, and, we will be walking you through them.
Perfect.
Nice.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for your support.
Yep.
And I have a house full of company,
Okay.
so I'm gonna run home.
Bye.
Moving
you. Thank you.
moving on to our consent agenda then. All matters listed on consent agenda are considered to be routine by the governing body, being enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Consisting of items A through C. Does anyone need anything removed? With that, motion to adopt.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bernhardt?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
Yes.
Moving on to resolutions, resolution 2025-168, authorizing the execution of a fourth round mediation agreement between the Borough of Frenchtown Fair Share Housing Center Incorporated.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this?
Mr. Mayor, if you could bear with me
Sure.
for a brief moment and just kind of give you a history of where we were, where we are, where we're going. I know you've all heard this multiple times, but I think it's appropriate to do this before you consider taking this action. On March 20th of 2024, the New Jersey Fair Housing Act was amended to address the fourth round municipal affordable housing obligation and applicable deadlines. The fourth round affordable housing obligation commences on July 1 of 2026. And I'm sorry, yes, 2026, no, 2025. So we're into the fourth round right now, and it goes through 2034, June of 2034. That act required certain actions to be taken by various departments of the state of New Jersey, including municipalities. One of the actions was that by October 18th, the Department of Community Affairs was to issue the fair share housing obligation for all municipalities based on formulas in the amended Fair Housing Act. As a result of that analysis by the Department of Community Affairs, the borough was assigned 11 rehabilitation units and 22 prospective need. Rehabilitation is easy to understand, units that are deficient in a major or mechanical system, and there are programs to facilitate those repairs. 22 prospective need is the number of units you have to come up with, plus meeting whatever you weren't able to fulfill from the third round. The borough had until January 1 of 2025 to either accept the DCA's number or propose alternate obligations using the amended fair share housing formulas. The borough planner reviewed and recommended to the borough council not to question or challenge those obligations because, in her opinion, the calculations performed to arrive at those two allocations were consistent with the amendment to the Fair Housing Act. And so based upon the borough planner's recommendation and her analysis, you adopted a resolution by January 31st of this year, accepting those numbers. The next major step was that by June 30th of 2025, the borough had to adopt a housing element and fair share plan to address that obligation. The borough complied with that requirement. You, the planning board, adopted and you endorsed an amendment to the housing or to the master plan, which is the housing element and fair share plan. The next date was August 31st of 2025, where challenges to your housing element and fair share plan were due. And there was one challenge by Fair Share Housing Center, and that was timely filed. That challenge placed the Borough and the Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program under the supervision of a program judge and special adjudicator to advise the judge. Borough representatives, including the Borough Administrator, Mr. Dwyer, the Borough Planner, Ms. Green, and I, met several times with the judge, the special adjudicator, and Fair Share Housing. And also, Ms. Green and I met individually with Fair Share Housing to seek a resolution to the Share Housing Center's challenge. As a result of those meetings and guidance received at those meetings from the judge and the special adjudicator, the Borough and Fair Share were able to reach a settlement, which makes minor changes to your adopted housing element and fair share plan. Among the things that were in the housing element and fair share plan that were accepted by Fair Share was a vacant land analysis, which is an analysis of the properties in the town to see if there is a development opportunity or development potential for affordable housing within the town. That was challenged by Fair Share Housing. However, Ms. Green did provide substantial documentation as to the methodology that she used to come up with a zero realistic development potential. So for the floor plan, you had a zero realistic development potential, but that doesn't mean you're off the hook. You still need to, that 22 units becomes unmet need, meaning you can't meet it, but you have to provide mechanisms to try to satisfy that requirement. So it's very significant that the vacant land analysis was accepted by Fair Share. In addition to that, the borough did not meet its third round obligation. There were 2 developments that did not come to fruition. So there was a shortage of 5 units. However, through discussions with Fair Share Housing, that 5 units was reduced to 1, which again, very favorable for the borough. In addition, in your original plan, there was a provision for elderly cottage housing opportunities, and that was accepted by Fair Share and will continue to be in your plan. The borough did agree to certain modifications to the housing element. There was an increase in density at the child care center building here adjoining you. It was brought to my attention by Ms. Green yesterday that the acreage calculation for that property was wrong. It's really less than what she originally utilized and calculated. So that was where that 1 unit is going to be made up. So the density is going to have to be changed for that from 20 to 28%. But effectively, it doesn't really change anything. It's just to make up for the loss of property that's in the right of way, because under your land use ordinance, you deduct right of way from your acreage. So that made it a smaller lot, but effectively it's the same lot. It's just deducting the right of way from the lot. And the borough also will agree to have your village center plan right now does not have a density. Your density is controlled by the height and building setbacks. The recommendation and incorporated into the mediation agreement is that there be a 20 unit per acre requirement. That is, believe it or not, consistent with what is already occurring in the village center plan. So if Ms. Green took a selective sample of several lots that had already buildings on it and a use on it, and that turns out to be 20 acres, 20 units per acre. In addition to that, there is going to be, you have apartments in the village center are permitted, and multifamily is now going to be permitted as a use, all above the first floor. These are all above it. So where we stand right now is that I've discussed this with the Affordable Housing Committee, with you in executive session. And this past Monday, I did advise the program judge that the borough and Fair Share had entered into a tentative settlement agreement subject to your review and approval formally in a resolution, and that is what is before you tonight. The program judge has until December 31st to make a recommendation to the Superior Court judge as to whether or not to grant you a certificate of compliance, meaning that your plan is accepted by the Affordable Housing Program, and asking the county judge the county Mount Laurel judge to endorse or sign off on that plan. And that will be done early next year, hopefully. There's also a companion resolution, 189, which is an award of a professional service contract to Colliers Engineer to do some of the work that is necessary to implement the mediation agreement. You're not finished when you sign off on this mediation agreement. There are still ordinances and resolutions that have to be adopted by March 15th. And that is part of the work that Ms. Green will be doing. I want to say that Ms. Green did a wonderful job for the borough, guiding the borough, finding the housing element, the preparation and adoption of that. And during these discussions with the judge, the special adjudicator and Fair Share Housing, very productive. There were certain issues that came up, and in fact, as late as this past Monday, the adjudicator made an off-the-cuff comment that, whenever Ms. Green was asked for something, she delivered it in 20 minutes as opposed to 20 days or something to that effect. I mean, that's not a direct quote, but she, as quickly as possible, could do it, did what was requested of her, including preparing a zoning map with all of the various constraints in the town, your environmental constraints, wetlands, C1 buffer streams, where there was sewer and water and where there wasn't. And that was very helpful because it was a visual representation for everyone to see the limits in Frenchtown. And in fact, this past Monday, the judge complimented Ms. Green for that plan because it was a very good visual. That's a general overview. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but it's certainly Ms. Green's recommendation and mine that you adopt this resolution and authorize the mayor to sign the mediation agreement, which you've had. There were a couple of things that changed from the last time that I reviewed this with you, and they're really minor changes to the mediation agreement. You may recall that there was some back and forth on deadlines because regulations that needed to be adopted hadn't been adopted, and the deadline seemed unrealistic. Fair Share eventually agreed to mitigate those deadlines, agreed to a later deadline, and agreed to work to be more flexible and work with the town. And in a couple of places, a will was changed to a shall. In my view, will and shall mean the same thing. You're going to do it one way or another, whether you will do it or you shall do it. They're both mandatory. And so those were two changes that you may not have seen in the drafts. So I said, with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions from the council?
No,
With that,
Thank you.
roll call please.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Bernhardt?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes,
Councilmember O'Brien? Yes. Councilmember Altuve?
yes,
Resolution 2025-169 is a award of a professional service contract to Colliers Engineering and Design to complete a master plan and development regulations reexamining report as mentioned earlier. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on this? Not hearing any roll call, please.
Councilmember Bernhardt?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Usher?
Yes.
Right, is there any new business that anyone would like to discuss? I just wanted to note for the record, there's a conversation going on right now. It's attracting a lot of attention on the non-official Frenchtown page about new cameras being installed on the Frenchtown Muellerstown Bridge. Security cameras, they are not to assess tolls. There's a lot of concern that from residents that these are to scan license plates to assess tolls. I can tell you affirmatively, they are not for tolls.
It's not a toll bridge.
Correct, but
Okay.
there's concern that there's
But they're
a,
easy pass cameras?
yeah, that there's a bait and switch going on. I can tell you they're not to assess tolls. I did talk with the Bridge Commission. If anyone has concerns, there's concerns from some about data and privacy. They can contact the Delaware River Joint Toll Bridge Commission to discuss those concerns at length, but they are not to assess license plate based tolls.
I'm sorry, weren't there always cameras on the bridge?
There-
Yes.
Okay.
These are just enhanced, but it's up to like 70
There's a-
comments.
Okay, wow.
So there's,
There is a
It's,
Homeland Security element to
yeah.
that.
yeah, the
bridge.
Delaware River Joint Toll Commission is monitoring those comments. And they will issue a statement if needed to reassure folks.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yep,
Yeah.
moving
Write
on,
that one down.
to council comments, Councilwoman Updike,
No comments for me.
Council President Lee.
I just want to thank the FBPA and specifically Morgan Taylor for, and also the Chabad of Hunterdon County for their work on the menorah. There was the menorah lighting yesterday. And a very good turnout for that. Also, we had the tree lighting the Sunday before. Right? We haven't talked about that yet, so they did a really good job with having Santa come through. And Bill, I'm gonna kick it over to you because you were instrumental in helping with the tree. But I also just want to say Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to everyone, because we won't see each other before the holiday.
Wow.
Hmm.
What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess wanted to say
Scary.
thank everybody who was involved with the Christmas tree, putting that up and setting up the food center, Morgan, Mike, Keith. We've got people, but wanted to say thank you to them. And a little mention that, I don't know if people heard Walt Schneiderwin passed away.
Oh, nice.
And I just bring that up because he did add quietly through the years a lot to Frenchtown.
Mhm.
Volunteered, was he the Frenchtown Garden?
Yeah,
It was his equipment that he brought over and sat there and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
and donated a lot, right, in terms of flowers to help
Always.
beautify the,
very generous.
yeah.
So.
Sorry to
His
hear that.
memorial is on January 5th.
yeah, they're doing a celebration of life, I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Where?
so-
Johnson Funeral Home in Holland Township,
Mhm.
yeah. Or Johnson Wall, yeah.
Bill, quick question. I had someone in the store, speaking of the tree lighting. Is the Santa's letterbox there this year? Someone was inquiring to where that was this year. There was always that mailbox. That it used to be at the Mule.
It used to be at the Mule and it's not there.
Okay, I
It's
had
over there
multiple people
yesterday, yeah.
asking, like, where do we take our kids?
I haven't seen
I could ask Morgan, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. I just didn't know where to direct people.
Oh,
Okay.
I do have one good piece of news too. Can I go back?
Yeah.
I just want to say that Jill Sperling, who is a very active member of our community, is doing really well. And so I know a lot of people within the community know her and were worried about her, and she has been back in touch. So
Good.
happy to report
Yeah.
that she is on the mend.
Yeah, I think she'll be home on Christmas Eve.
Oh, that's great,
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Councilman Bernhardt?
I don't have any.
Just echo that, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll see each other before the new year, but happy new year, but I also wanted to echo your comments, Bill, and just comment on Walter Schneiderman passing. He was a great man. I actually started working for him when I was 12 years old and worked with him through high school, my senior year. And he was very instrumental in all of our lives that worked there, and he was a very good guy. Really promoted education with us. I don't think a lot of people realize, a lot of people knew him from his farming days. But when he left, he was in the US Public Health Service. And he was a captain in the Navy and retired as Deputy Surgeon General of the United States. Yeah, he was very accomplished. And he picked up farming as an after public
A
service.
second career?
Yes.
Wow, I
But
did not
was
know
his
that.
Background. He was a specialist in the hands and feet.
He was a physical therapist.
Yeah. And he worked with patients with leprosy and really had a very unique background that a lot
He
of people don't know
closed the
about.
last 2 leprosy hospitals and facilities in the country.
Yeah,
He was part of them, that working through it until the end of their.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Mr. Mayor, not
Yeah.
to change the topic, but you are having a meeting
we are,
on December 30th
we are.
at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Specifically a financial meeting.
Mhm.
You'll have budget transfers.
Yep.
So you're gonna need 4 affirmative votes outside of the mayor. So that's an important meeting.
Everyone
And
can
we
be
have,
here.
That
we
was the
have
big-
critical mass
yeah.
that everyone chose.
I think Cheryl said,
I
I
checked the
put it
website.
29th, I was
It wasn't up.
I'm pretty.
Yeah, it's not on the website yet.
Okay.
12:30.
But it was out of the 2 dates given, it was the date that worked for everyone, I think, right?
Mhm.
You
Oh,
will need
actually,
4 votes for certain.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
actions
checking.
you're taking.
And we good? Everyone good here? Okay,
It's on my calendar.
Yeah, me too.
and turn it over to our
Can you
administrator.
send out a reminder so that
Yes, I will.
everybody,
Yes.
just make sure who's coming.
The only thing I have is, if you remember during the December 3rd, meeting during public comment, a resident made some comments about the Thompson track. And some concerns she had about, trails being cut up there and work being done up there. And Mary, you had said to her, you would mention it to the public safety director, which happens to be me. So I took it upon myself to walk up there with my dog Sophie and, you know, I actually tracked my trail. I had an app on my phone that actually tracked my path through there. So I covered, probably 75% of it. And the other 25% I just could not get through because it was so thick. And I saw no evidence of any work being done there. The only trails I could find were what I would consider deer trails.
Mhm.
No evidence of trails being cut. There was a makeshift bridge up there that clearly has been there for a very long
Yeah.
time. So, my report back to you is that I just don't see it.
No, I appreciate you following up. I mean, I think
Same.
the only old trails that were probably existed years ago, like as kids, that was where you ride your BMX bikes and stuff, so. There might be, but by now, most of those have to be overgrown,
Yeah, very overgrown.
I mean, this
And,
was 25 years
I
ago.
think I still have some wounds from this.
Yeah.
They're healing, so.
Sophie okay though?
So. She loved it. She loved it. So that's my report on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence, I just want to note that we did get a letter from Sharon McNichol, just commenting on the potential former Thompson track. And then Sam also has included in here about the annual rabies clinic that's coming up and pet licensing reminder. It's also on the Borough website. With that, are there any additional public comments? Not hearing any, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Ayes